Wow, this is more like it. This is what we're talking about. The Rangers come through in a big way today, just like they did Friday, and we are here to talk about it. It's the Rangers post-game DLLS podcast coming next. You know, getting shut out by Sonny Gray on a good day by Gray is a lot easier to take when it's bookended by Friday night and then what the Rangers did today. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers post-game podcast. John Radigan here. Jeff Wilson joins in just a few minutes. He's at Globe Life Field for the finale of this series, the finale of the homestand. And we've got the prophet Elijah Smith over there taking care of business as well. So we're glad to have you along. We know you're already in the chat. Chat along. Let us know what you're thinking about it. Here's my absolute favorite thing about this game. I can say it in two words. Small ball. There were two bunts in one inning, and both of them were productive. Both of them were positive. In one case, Alejandro Osuna, this was in the eighth. Alejandro reached on a bunt. There was a throwing error, but still, it was a bunt. He reached. It advanced the runners. Everybody was safe. And then up came Sam Haggerty to bunt, and he got a sac bunt, and he scored a run, and he sacrificed the runner, and he did his job, and he got an RBI, and there were three total bunts in the game. These are the things you have to do when you're not hitting the ball out of the ballpark, something the Rangers did not do until their second to the last batter of the game. And then Josh Smith came through. Who else but Josh Smith, who started the game with back-to-back doubles and who came through in the end with the two-run homer. Josh, with 4 RBIs on the night, is likely the player of the game, but you've got to maybe go as deep as Sam Haggerty to be one of the unsung heroes of the game. No doubt about that. That's who Josh Smith was talking about at the end of the game on the post-game interview with Laura Stickles. So much to talk about regarding this one, and we're going to get to all of it. We're going to get to your comments. We're going to get to post-game reaction with Jeff Wilson in just a few minutes as well. And it was one of those games, especially after last night, where it started with a pause, right? You're just like, no, seriously. No, after the Cardinals score a run off an uncharacteristically unsteady Jacob deGrom, particularly in the first inning, they score a run. In fact, it was a runner who walked that scored the run, so that was no fun. But anyway, and then the Rangers come right up and get the first two on. They get Josh Smith with the double, and he's followed up by Wyatt Langford, who scores and then steals second base, right? And you're like, okay, here we go. The Rangers with 2 on, both men in scoring position, and nobody out. And it fizzled. They got nothing out of it. And I was just, and again, that means 3, 4, and 5 didn't come through. You know, that means Josh, Corey first, and then Josh, and then, Alejandro Osuna didn't come through. And I'm just like, is this going to be another one of those games? It's like a mental block. Thankfully, the bottom half of the order put together really good at-bats in the second inning, and the Rangers took the lead in the second, took a 2-1 lead, and never looked back. Now, Mike Bassick was on the telecast. It was a national, kind of a weird hybrid local plus national telecast on Roku that was an absolute disaster, but that had nothing to do with the announcers. The announcers were great. Chip Carey, who is the Cardinals' normal play-by-play man, and Mike Bassick, the normal color commentator for the Rangers, along with Laura. So anyway, their part in the game was excellent. A lot of the technical stuff was horrible. We'll get to that. We'll be appreciative of your comments about whether or not you had any issues. The Prophet and I were sitting here going, what the heck's going on? We've just watched 32 commercials in a row. What are we doing here? Had to go to the app to find what was going on in the game. So anyway, more on that coming later. But that second inning was so huge. And on the on-field interview that Bruce Bochy did, he referenced that. The only thing he said, Laura asked him, "Oh, pretty nice that they broke through in the second inning," and he said, "Especially after that first, right? That first is the kind of thing that can really demoralize a team, and especially this team, that was shut out for the 8th time this season yesterday, and then thank goodness they didn't." Jacob deGrom mentioned it in the first inning. He walked the first batter he faced. He always gets frustrated whenever he walks anybody. And so that was frustrating. And then he just didn't have his control or his command and allowed the run to score. 1 run scored in that first inning. But after like the second batter of the game, out came Matt Lucero, the trainer, as well as Bruce Bochy and Mike Maddox. And you're thinking, oh, my gosh, this is it. We're going to have to do something with Jacob deGrom. He must be injured. And he quickly sent them away. He said, I'm fine. I'm going to, keep going, and keep going. He did. You got to think he didn't look exactly like Jacob deGrom normally does. It wasn't his normal performance. B, maybe a C level performance by him. Isn't it great that Jacob deGrom can give you a B, maybe a B minus, let's say that, a B minus performance, and go 6 innings, allowing 4 hits, 1 run, it was earned, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. There you see the numbers from Jacob, and this is fantastic, right? Are you kidding me? If this is what you can get from a guy who's not as sharp, let's put it that way, not as sharp as he normally would be. So looking at some of the comments, yes, Debbie Elder, this team can win a World Series, but they have to play offensively like they've played in 2 of the last 3 games. You got to love the way they're pitching. And yes, the energy, it's infectious, it's contagious, but it's dependent, right, on the success they might have at the plate. You do get energy from great pitching performances. But the energy is generally only there if you've got enough runs to support said great pitching performance, right? There isn't, like, if there's not enough offense, the energy is zapped. It's just completely gone despite the great pitching performance. So very, very interesting series, because we were wondering, when is this offense going to come around? We've talked about it all the time. I don't know that it has yet, but it's sure showing signs of life. And how about Marcus Semien? Marcus Semien in this series reached base 10 of 11 times. He was 7 for 8 with a home run, a double, and 3 walks. He was on base every time he came to the plate today. Marcus Semien is feeling it. And if Marcus Semien gets back to being the Marcus Semien we came to know and love, particularly in 23, but even in 22, if he gets back to being that guy, everything can change. Because Corey Seager's back, hasn't been great yet, but he was on the disabled list, or the injured list as we call it now, for a long time. So that's fine. If Corey's great, he's great. He will be, right? He will be. If Marcus Semien can continue to do this, and in some form or fashion you have those two near the top of the order, now I'd be very surprised if you don't start to see Marcus Semien climb his way back towards the top. Whether or not he becomes the leadoff hitter again remains to be seen, and I'm not sure they'll do that. I'm not sure Marcus Semien is your prototypical leadoff hitter anyway. And I think Josh Smith has done a great job there. And we believe Evan Carter has a strong future at that position. So there are a lot of things that can be done at that leadoff position and allow Marcus to do these things that he's done somewhere else in the batting order. Fingers crossed, obviously, that he continues to hit the ball the way he has been hitting it of late. But loved the small ball, loved Smitty and Simi and Sam Haggerty, as we mentioned. Josh Smith walking off the field, just highlighting a couple of the things that Sam Haggerty did from that 9th spot in the batting order that prolonged at bats, that got guys, moved guys over, that scored runs. Right, he made an out, but he drove in a run. Sam also did score a run, the second run of the game. He scored in that second inning. So really nice game by Sam Haggerty too. Prior to the game, there was a roster move, and that move was to put to put Nathan Eovaldi on the injured list. It's going to be retroactive to when his last start was. So the first day he'll be eligible. Remember, pitchers, it's an automatic 15-day injured list stay. So basically, he'll be eligible to come back from the injured list on June 13th when you backdate it from when he went on the injured list. So that's a little troubling. In order to make room for him, in order to make room for the roster move that corresponded, which was recalling Cody Hoyer. And so Cody Hoyer is up. And it's funny because Jeff saw him in the clubhouse earlier today. He's like, what's Cody Hoyer doing here? What's Cody Hoyer doing here? And all the beat writers hadn't seen him, and they're wondering, and everybody's wondering. And then we found out Chris Young and Ross Fenstermaker and Bruce Bochy had decided to put Nathan Eovaldi on the injured list. Here's the ironic part, the interesting part. We all talked to Nathan today, and he said, no, I'm fine. No, I mean, there's no pain. There's no problem. Everything's fine. And he said he planned on pitching Thursday in Tampa. So I'm sure that even he was surprised by this. That said, he's a veteran. He understands it, right? The best thing right now for the team is to not make anybody else sort of change their spot in the rotation and alter things. Nathan told us what he'd been dying for, what he'd been waiting for, hoping to make it through some strain in the forearm was that 2 days off, that chance when he'd have 2 days off, a little time to rest it. He couldn't quite get there. Well, these other guys need that too, especially the Jacob deGroms of the world, the Tyler Malleys of the world, who are coming back off of surgery. So anyway, that's the thing. Look at the super chat there. Thank you, Leon. We appreciate you. I looked it up, and the Rangers are now 13-2 when scoring 3 runs in an inning, 15-3 when scoring 3 or more in 3 or more innings, and we did both today. And how about this stat? The Prophet and I were talking about prior to the show, I should say, 21-3 when the Rangers score 4 runs or more. 21-3. You don't think they'd be leading all of baseball if they averaged really a paltry 4 runs a game for themselves? I mean, again, in the first half of 2023, the Rangers were averaging 4-point-something, 4.83, I think, something like that per game. So this is if this offense continues to hit like this is a team that can be as good as any team in baseball. It's shocking when you look at the standings and see at the beginning of the day today, this team was 3.5 games out of first place. Nobody has emerged in this division. That's not to say Seattle's not having a great start to the season, paced by Cal Raleigh, who's arguably he might be the player of the month in June in the American League. Great month for Cal Raleigh. He's established himself as not only a leader, but a great catcher and a great, hitter for that team. So anyway, in spite of his heroics, the Mariners haven't run away with anything. The Astros had been hot. They get the bad news. I think it was yesterday or maybe even as early as late as today. But Jordan's not ready to come back yet. That he's only about 60% healed from that fracture in his hand. So Alvarez is still out for a while. So there's some things that are happening in this division that allow the Rangers to have full belief that they can not only get right back into the division race, but maybe get right back to where they and we thought they would be, which is near the top of the standings in all of baseball. Again, 3 or 4. To I Love Misty, who's Leon. To Leon's point, or to the point that we saw on Twitter today, it might have been Jared, 3 or 4 runs a game. That's all they need. And they're going to have these 15-3s and these 21-4s, 21-3s. So anyway, more coming up. We've got to get to Jeff. He will join us. We'll get some post-game reaction. I want to hear what the thoughts are, and if you had a chance to revisit Nathan Eovaldi after what we had heard prior to the game. Also hoping he had a chance to chat with Marcus Semien, who's got to be feeling very good, but won't express it. And let's hear what Jacob deGrom was saying. I'm sure he was hard on himself, as he usually is. So much more to talk about as we continue to wrap this one up. Rangers win a series and win the game today, 8-1 over the St. Louis Cardinals. The DLLS Rangers post-game podcast continues in a moment. But first, here they are. Here they are, baby. You know, you can always tell a good pair of sunglasses by the box. Look at the little magnet box. You pull them out, and they're in a little case. You know, the case doubles as a thing where you can wipe off the lenses, right? You got the Shady Rays, and you got the lens, and you got the little case. You put them in the case, but it's also a little microfiber, and then you put these babies on. Are you kidding me? I mean, I might arrest you. But I might not, you know, because but the aviators, I mean, I just love the style. I'm seeing you, all of you, so well. See the camera perfectly. They're polarized. They're beautiful. Look at those things. Shady Rays. Get yourself a pair because you can get 35% off these babies. I'm telling you, that'll get you these for, and again, for so much of a cheaper price than every other kind that gives you this type of accoutrement. You can get them for so much cheaper. Shady Rays, they're every bit as good. They're better. Okay? Also, Mando, is that what's next, Prophet? Mando. I tell you what, I was all over Mando this weekend. Busy weekend of work for us at the old business. So I had a lot of time to utilize the greatness of Mando. At one point, I was walking up the stairs. Wife's walking not too far behind me, and it's like, whew. I said, I know, I'm sweating, all right. Went and utilized the Mando, and there was no more whew. It's easy. It's safe. It's wonderful. It's cheap. It smells great. Mando, you can get $5 off a starter pack if you go use the code DLLS. I'm telling you, this is a product you will appreciate, especially as these hot summer months are beginning, and they, of course, cause us so much more sweat in all those areas that so like to sweat on the male body. Okay, man, what a game. What a series. It's finally, I mean, I'm telling you, I was talking to Prophet about it during the game. After that, the last getaway day game, when we were, we were all home, or Jeff was at the ballpark, Prophet and I were home, and I mean, I was just defeated. I really was. I'm like, damn it. Is this what this is going to be? You know, what's going on? How can this continue to happen over and over again? You know, that's the game when they were shut out 2-0, and they'd won the first game of the series against Toronto. They weren't facing Cy Youngs, right? And so it was very defeating, and this feels sort of opposite good to how bad that one felt. This feels like that, you know, some of the things that Bruce Bochy and certainly that Brett Boone are trying to put into place are working. We talked to Boch today about Adolis Garcia, and we said, how's Adolis? And he said, he's doing great. He's doing really well. He's doing everything we want him to do. He said at that point when we were talking to him, he said, we're going to go have a talk with Adolis now. So, I mean, and continue to lay out the game plan. So who knows exactly what the game plan is, and I'm not sure if any of that was more revealed after that conversation, but the reality is there doesn't seem to be any anger or hard feelings or rancor on the part of, you know, management and or on the part of Adolis. We'll hope that continues to be true. But it's another example of how this Rangers Brain Trust is doing everything in its power to get this offense back on track. And that's what it appears has happened. This Cardinals team came in here as a surprise team in the National League, a team that nobody expected to be this good. This is a team that had a trade for Nolan Arenado with the Astros, and he, of course, vetoed it because of his no trade clause power. But this is a team that absolutely was not, they were basically having a fire sale during the offseason. And you know why they're so good? Pitching and defense. And ironically, I don't know that I guess the bullpen let them down a little bit today, but the defense also let them down a little bit. There were some misplays, a couple of errors that cost them, preciously in this game. So, but again, the Rangers were in place to take advantage of those because they were doing the right things. They were playing the small ball. They were doing the things you need to do to win baseball games like this. So with Adolis Garcia out, maybe, probably not. Here's my guess. He's back, starting Tuesday in Tampa. It's a place he hits the ball well. That's just my guess. And actually I say that they're at Yankee spring training stadium, so they're not at the old Sun Dome. So I don't know how well he hits it at the old Yankees spring training place. But the point is, they've given him this long. They have tomorrow off too. So he had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5 days off during the middle of the season. Hell, he might need a spring training. I'm kidding, but it's a long time off in the middle of a season, the likes of which position players do not get, the likes of which he hadn't gotten at all. So I really believe that can be the kind of thing where you can feel refreshed, and they need to get him back in there, or they need to make a move, because the reality is he just can't. You can't go without that roster spot, right? Right now, he's not really available. So you're playing one man short, essentially. So they need to get him back in there, and we'll figure out when and how. But Jeff's on the text here telling me he's calling in now. So we'll get some of those answers after postgame here momentarily. But the Adolis Garcia story is interesting, and I think it's just a classic example of how the Rangers are doing everything in their power to get this offense back on track. The goal, of course, is to make the offense as consistent as the pitching. That said, it's harder to do. Offense always comes and goes. But like I said at the beginning of the show, I can handle a 2-0 game yesterday when Sonny Gray was really pitching well. I mean, Sonny Gray just had a great game, and, he shoved, as we say. Sonny Gray did a great job. Okay, I can handle those when they're bookended by an 11-1 victory and then an 8-1 victory, two games in which the Rangers have scored uncharacteristically lots of runs. 19 runs in 2 games here, 2 out of the 3 in this series. The Rangers finish this homestand 3-3. That's not good enough, right? It's not. I mean, losing 2 out of 3 to Toronto is going to be disappointing. It's going to remain disappointing. But 3-3 is better than if they'd lost today, right? I mean, and when you start the homestand by losing a series, you go, well, yeah, 3-3 would be okay. I mean, obviously, still at that point, you'd like to be 4-2. You'd like to have swept this team, this Cardinals team, but they didn't, and they played well yesterday. You sure can't fault Patrick Corbin in that game yesterday, another game where he allowed only 2 runs. There's Jeff joining us. So lots to get to with him on this post-game reaction. I was just mentioning, Jeff, one of the stats that you put out there, 3-3 on the homestand. Not good enough, but better than, after you lose the first series, not so bad. And 19 runs in the last 2 games. That's the big one. But how's the mood down there? How are they feeling as they head towards an off day in Florida?
Sounds like everything was on the good side. Relief, though, it seems like, it's not like euphoria is setting in after these wins. It seems like it's relief.
Yeah.
That they're not,
Okay.
jumping for joy and it just, because the questions are, hey, how about that offense? And they're like, yeah, wow, we did it today. It's like, it's just a little bit different after these wins lately. But And some of it is because you're talking to a guy like Marcus Simeon, who's been in a slump, and a guy like Josh Young, who Josh Young had been in a slump until today. He'd been 5 for his last 45, so a nice day for him to break through. But you're just kind of walking on eggshells a little bit, even after a win.
Yeah, and I guess I get that just because, like us, it's hard for them to believe that this is necessarily a thing now. But all we can do is hope that they continue to do this. My initial take on it, Jeff, of this game was the thing I loved best. You can say in 2 words: small ball. Jeff, they had two bunts in 1 inning. They had 3 bunts for the game. They moved runners. They got to first on infield singles. They were doing all those things you have to do when you aren't hitting the ball out of the ballpark, which they didn't do until their second to the last batter of the game. I loved to see the way they were sort of manufacturing things, and what, until the 8th really was a pretty tight game.
Look, as much as I hate to say it, it's old school to do that stuff.
It is.
But Brett Boone is an old school hitting coach.
Yep.
And Bruce Bochy is an old school manager. And I'm telling you, they understand the analytics thought where you don't want to give away outs, that it gives away your opportunities to score. But when you're not scoring, you got to do something. And when you have Jacob deGrom on the mound or Nathan Eovaldi, any of these starters, 1 or 2 runs is going to put you in really good shape. And they didn't execute in the first inning when they, first 2 guys get on, and then the heart of the order, strikeout, ground out, I think is how it went, or strikeout, fly out. Not very good. But then the next time, they started producing. They got some 2-out hits. Simeon and San Haggerty, 8 and 9 in the order. Kind of sparked that little thing. And then you what you're talking about, the bunt, the Osuna bunt was a bad bunt. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it went right in front of the plate, and it could have been a double play. But when you put pressure on the defense, good things happen, and then they turn that into some sacrifice flies. Imagine that,
Yeah.
scoring 2 runs on sacrifice flies, and then the Sam Haggerty safety squeeze, if you will. Just great execution. You don't have to hit home runs. And we talked to Marcus Simeon afterwards and asked him about the small ball and manufacturing runs, and he said, I usually don't believe in giving up outs. Well, that's kind of telling, I think, of modern baseball. And do these guys know the importance of that? And he said, but sometimes you just got to get your pitcher a little support. And they were able to do that, but it's huge. And I think that if that's a Brett Boone influence, great. I don't think it happened by accident today. I think that there's been some conversations going on, putting into thought how important it is to do these things, because there are a lot of ways to score runs. You don't have to hit it over the fence. There are a lot of ways to score runs, and this offense needs to utilize as many of them as possible.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Marcus, and I predicted this, but I'll bounce it off of you, is reaches base in 10 of 11, plate appearances in this series. He was 7 for 8, had a homer, had a double, already, in this series, doubled up on his extra base hit production of the month. In any event, he probably wasn't euphoric about that, but it had to feel good.
Yeah, he and I think it's telling that how good his teammates feel for him, because they know he's a pro. He's one of their leaders. It's not a lack of effort, but he's been trying some things, and maybe he's finally struck on something, But to have a series like this, and you see what happens when he's on base. He can steal a bag.
Yep.
He's a threat. He goes from first to third, without even thinking twice about it. It's just, different ways to put pressure on guys. Stolen bases are huge. This team did that a lot today. Take advantage of it. But again, that's getting yourself in scoring position. That's manufacturing a run, if you will. And Marcus Simeon can do that, and he doesn't he doesn't have to be the leadoff hitter. Doesn't need to bat fifth. He's batting eighth, and it seems like it's working so far. Now, maybe he moves up as the season goes along if he gets hot and stays hot. But right now, this weekend is has to be considered a success for him, considering where he was, hitting 173 entering the weekend.
Yeah, and thank you, Janet. He's finally over 200, so that's fantastic. Good for him, and let's see if he continues to climb. We got more coming up on this DLLS Rangers post-game podcast. We'll get to the Jacob deGrom story. I also want to hear from Jeff if there is an update on the Nathan Eovaldi side of things. It changed a lot since we talked to Nathan earlier this morning. That's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. You ready for Bud Light, Jeff?
Oh, I am.
Tell us about it, or you want me to talk about it?
You go ahead and talk about it. I'm sorry.
I will, no problem, because Bud Light is by far my favorite beer. I have loved it really since I started loving Budweiser, and which they didn't make Bud Light when I started loving Budweiser. But it's a great beer, and it got unpopular there for a while, and I kept drinking it, and people would go, "Oh my God, you're drinking Bud Light?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's America. I drink what I like, and I like Bud Light." So you should too. It's a great beer. It's so easy and refreshing, and they use all the best ingredients, that is, not ingrediences, but ingredients. It's a fantastic pour. It's so great. I would encourage you to get yourself some Bud Light. We keep it stocked up there. We had it there for the Stars stuff. We're going to see if we can't just transfer it over to the Rangers. See what we're going to do here. Bud Light, it's easy to drink. It's easy to enjoy. Enjoy it responsibly if you would. 21 and older. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri. Saturday Neon's our other buddy, Jeff. You can talk about them.
Yeah, it's nice to see them back. We haven't had a Saturday Neon read for a while. They're really good supporters of the whole DLS sports and really All-City Network. If you don't know what it is, or if you've forgotten, it's neon signs, except they're not like the old gas neon signs. They're LED neon signs. They're only $75. They have agreements in place with around 50 of the biggest colleges in the country. That includes Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Colorado. Still got to talk to them about TCU, but they last up to 100,000 hours. 100,000 hours. They're low voltage. They don't get hot. They're safe to touch. They're a perfect gift. Perfect for your man cave or your office. If you use the code DLLS, you get 10% off your favorite sign.
Yeah, it's funny. I was at a party last night, Jeff, and I saw a neon sign, and I thought, and it was personalized. It wasn't a college, but we know, Saturday Neon will make one for you too. They'll personalize one. And I saw one, and I thought, I wonder if that's a Saturday Neon. And then I thought, why haven't we been talking about Saturday Neon? So I was glad to see it in the rundown today as well. Okay, so Jacob deGrom first. It obviously was a scare in that first inning. Walks the first hitter, frustrated as he can be with himself. Then all of a sudden there's a mound visit from Mike Maddox and Matt Lucero and Boch, and I thought, oh my gosh, here we go. And he shooed them away. So I'm sure he was never happy with his mechanics, but so what? He allows one run and keeps his team not only in the game but ahead, as it turned out in the game. What were his thoughts? What was he saying about all that in the post-game reaction?
Yeah, he 5 of his first 6 pitches were balls, which is really unusual for Jacob deGrom. And so they went out there. They just thought something was wrong with him. It's like, God, this guy never does this. He must be hurt. He was just battling his mechanics, which is an ongoing thing. It seems to be a storyline behind every start, whether they're good or bad. And he said his last inning was his best inning. He ended up going 6. The visit was much to do about nothing. He stayed in the game, did fine through 81 pitches, I think, in 6 innings. He did walk 3, which is a big number for him. He only struck out 3, but that's 3 more than he struck out the last time. So it was interesting. He wore a different glove. Apparently, he wore Jack Leiter's glove, I guess.
Yeah.
And he said, well, when you don't strike anybody out for the first time in your career, you got to change something up. So anyway, he's in a good mood. He's healthy. He's when he's not good. If this is what's not good or not dominant, let's say, because we have such high expectations for him. You expect him to go out there and strike out 15 a game and walk none and give up 1 or 2 hits only. So it's when these starts, when he's not at his best, he's still fantastic. So it was a good day for him. I mean, he probably wasn't happy. I know he wasn't happy. But at the end of the day, the Rangers won the game. He left the mound healthy and is going to pitch another day. So, good start for him.
Yeah, and it's funny. I said earlier in the show, Jeff, by the lofty standards that he has set for himself, but then consequently that we have for him, I'd call this, a B-, maybe a C+ start from Jacob deGrom. But how great is it that your C+ start, and officially he had 4 strikeouts, so your C+ start is 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Keep your team in the game, give them a chance to win it. I mean, I'll take that every time. And maybe then we just begin to, as he gets older and the things change, the body changes, maybe we readjust what to expect from him. But if we can expect only this, we're pretty dang happy as a fan base.
Yeah, and I think we've all underestimated the time he has been off, and I think he might have initially as well. It's been 2 years since he pitched. Entering this season, it was almost 2 years. It was 23 months since he had pitched in a major league game, and then you go back to 22 and 21. He missed time in those seasons too. So it's not like he's been making 30 starts a year. He's still trying to figure things out. I think he said today something that was interesting. I think it kind of dawned on him. He said that he's been worrying so much about his mechanics, thinking too much on the mound, and maybe being like, all right, I'm still coming back from this. He said today, at one point he just told himself to let it rip. Stop thinking about your mechanics, throw to the glove, and see what happens. And it went well. So if he can clear his mind, just having his head the things he worked on between starts, and just go out there and throw. It's pretty interesting. It was pretty revealing. As he said, he's just had a lot going through his mind when he's pitching. But he's Jacob deGrom, and I think he finally realized that today.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm sure any of us that have ever played, a decent amount of golf have gone through it, where you're just out there thinking so many things about your swing, and it's like, just swing the damn thing. Stop thinking, worrying, this, that, the other. Swing the club and hit the ball. And sometimes you just have to sort of do that. Just let all those crazy thoughts disappear from your brain. Now, this Nathan Eovaldi situation is interesting to me because, again, I was with you when we talked to Nathan earlier. He's like, yeah, I'm pitching Thursday. I'm fine. This is totally precautionary. And then comes the news. And you were right, by the way, about Cody Hoyer being up here. You thought you had seen him in the clubhouse, and the other beat writers are going, I don't think so. But there he was. In any event, was there any sort of an update and or, how Nathan feels about this, given what he was thinking, 2 hours earlier?
I did not see him after the game. Well, that's not true. I saw him walking out, and he was laughing and smiling. So, we were told he was removed, as a precaution, that he was going to be moved back as a precaution. Then Chris Young came out and said, we're just going to put him on the IL as a precaution. So a lot of precautions going into effect here, but it makes the most sense. And that's kind of the story I've just finished. I haven't posted it yet, but the essence of this is that the Rangers, as poorly as they've been offensively, and as dreadful as their season looks, especially compared to preseason expectations, they're 2 games out of 500, and they're still within striking distance of a playoff spot. So this is a long-term play. they want Jacob deGrom healthy the rest of the year, right? And then the same thing is happening with Adolis Garcia. They're giving him a mental break or whatever you want to call it. They're going to ask him to make some swing changes, but it's going to, this is a long-term play too. They want him to be the best, because when he is like in 23, when he's in his 23 form, the Rangers don't have anybody in the system who can replace him. Now, they have guys right now in the short term. They do have Haggerty, who was integral and has been integral. Osuna, who through 5 big league games or 6 big league games, 7, whatever the hell it is, has been incredibly comfortable and looks great defensively. You can get by without Adolis Garcia here in the short term. In the long term, though, you're going to need a threat. As nice as it is, what we just talked about, to manufacture runs and to play small ball, you still got to have somebody in the middle of the order who's going to make the other pitcher sweat. And if Adolis Garcia is going good, he's going to do that. But ultimately, he made these swing changes in the offseason, working with Bobby Witt's personal hitting coach. And the first time he took batting practice at spring training, we're like, hey, holy cow, his swing is different. It's a shorter stride, but really he still coils as much. So while he made himself quicker to the ball, it's not a lot quicker. And I'm not sure how much the bat is in the strike zone. I don't know if it's in the strike zone any longer than it was. He's hitting the ball with a ton of backspin, and that's not good if you're a fly ball hitter. So he has some things they want to work on. They've identified some things that they think will get him back to the 2023 form. How soon can you implement those? That's the thing. I thought maybe he would be going down to the minor leagues, frankly.
Yeah.
If you're going to ask him to make these changes, it makes sense to do that, or at least say his shoulder is sore or something. Just give him some time to really hone in and dial in on these changes, because it's going to be hard, and it may not get better immediately if you're doing it in games. It's like a golfer in the middle of his round, and then all of a sudden you tell him, hey, go work on that swing you're working on the range. Let's just ditch this swing that's got you 7 under and in contention. Go on out there and try this new swing. It's not going to work. So this time off, I think, is going to be, you'll see less of Adolis Garcia in the short term. And again, Evan Carter is likely to come back on Tuesday. So that's going to give the Rangers a potential outfield of Langford, Carter, Osuna, or Haggerty. If Duran is still on the roster, which it appears he will be, and Smith, they have some extra outfielders there. They have the infield covered in case Corey Seager needs a DH day. The roster's in a good spot to do this. But yeah, if Sam Haggerty, you could argue, is their offensive MVP on this series. Him and Semien, just these guys who are on base at the bottom of the order, stirring stuff up, and kind of jump starting the offense. So we'll see what happens with Garcia. But as Chris Young said, this is a performance-driven game, and if the performance isn't there, it's time to start making some hard decisions. And sitting Adolis Garcia will be a hard decision. This is a guy who's beloved by the fan base and was your postseason hero in 2023. It's just not working. And if you're going to win games, if you're going to get back into the hunt, you got to have your best 9 hitters on the field. And right now, he's not one of their best 9.
Right. And yet they're being extremely patient. And the thing I brought up when I mentioned it prior to you coming on was the fact that this is an example of how the Rangers are doing everything they can, everything in their power to get this offense rejuvenated. That said, and why it made sense when we were talking in the dugout prior to the game and thinking that maybe the roster move, the announcement we were going to hear, had to do with Adolis being optioned to the minors for a time. There's only so long you can go one man down, essentially, right? I mean, you have a complete roster for a reason, and you can't keep doing this forever.
Yeah, and last year the offense underperformed because of injuries, and because they had guys who were in slumps, like Simeon declined, Heim declined, Garcia declined, others did not perform well, and so you can overcome one of those two. All right. So right now the Rangers, right now going forward as of Tuesday, the Rangers are going to be healthy. They're going to get Evan Carter off the injured list. They just got Corey Seager off the injured list, so they're going to be healthy. So if you have the opportunity to get rid of an element that is causing you to underperform, you should do it. And again, the Rangers played their 60th game today. They have 102 games to go.
Yep.
More than half the season, a lot more than half the season is left. They have an opportunity to get this right in time for the stretch run when they think they're going to be in the playoffs. They still believe that, and that's the impetus between all of these moves. You have the time now to get Adolis Garcia right. The first 2 months it didn't work, so you got to do it now.
Yep. That's the answer, and they're working on it. They're doing everything they can, and really, no doubt, so is he. More coming up as we get to some of the thoughts you have in the chat. We'll discuss those things. We'll get you set for the longest road trip of the season. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers Postgame Podcast. And is that deal still on, Prophet?
It's off.
It's off. Oh, sorry about you.
Right.
Sorry if you missed it. All right, well, then let's start with the merch, Jeff. Jeff and I not wearing it today because we were at the ballpark. We don't wear T-shirts generally to the ballpark, but we wear them all the other times. We wear them the rest of the time, and they're all great. There's a new one coming. You're going to want it. Be ready for it. But in the meantime, get a couple of the other ones. It's looking more and more like it's that time of year. Rangers are going to get hot because it's summer. Rangers are going to be great because their pitchers are great, and now they're going to hit. And you're going to want to show your support by wearing some Rangers gear from DLLS. It's great quality material. It's not expensive. It's easy to get. They're quick to you. They wash nicely. They don't shrink. We encourage you to get merchandise. And it's not just shirts. It's more. And there's certainly, hoodies and stuff. If you're going on an Alaskan cruise or something, take them. But in the meantime, store.allcitynetwork.com. That's the place to go to get your merchandise from our company, which is known as All City.
Yeah, and even if you miss the sale, $79.99 is a hell of a price for what you're going to get to be a diehard with us. Coverage of the 4 major professional sports teams. We're adding colleges. We're adding wings. It's exciting time really for this market, and then we're 9 months old now to be getting a outlet that covers the teams the way that we do, both with the written word, which is what the diehard membership gives you access to, anything behind the paywall about any of those 4 teams, not just Rangers, any of the 4 teams, you get access to that. We do these podcasts. Nobody else covers the 4 major teams like DLLS does. And if you're a diehard member, you get access to the stories, yes, but then you get like 20% off the events that we have. The Cowboys Cruise are going to go to Las Vegas this year. If you want to do that, boom, 20% off. So go to alldlls.com/join and sign up today.
I may have to go on that trip, Jeff. Vegas. Good God. Be a fun trip, wouldn't it? Hang out with our guys. So anyway, let's get to some of this stuff that people are talking about. Jim Rockford saying you gotta trade Adolis for whatever you can get. Not the time and not now, especially because of what Jeff was just saying, right? To me, something like doing that is so throwing in the towel, right? From a management perspective. Management believes they can get him right. They know what he did in 23 and what he did in 2 All-Star seasons. It's not like that was just this one aberration of a year. Adolis has been great at various times throughout his tenure with the Texas Rangers. It's time to get him right. And if you just trade him, you're sending a horrible message to the team, and you're sending, obviously, a sort of a white flag message to each other that we can't do anything with this guy. We're just going to trade him. So I don't see that happening at all. I did see the comment from Andres saying, Wyatt Langford made good adjustments throughout the course of the year last year, and they worked so well in September that he became the American League Player of the Month. Now the pitchers appear to have made an adjustment back. That's probably true. And that's what happens in baseball. And Jeff, that's what happens throughout your entire career. Wyatt hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been as good as he was in September.
No, and he was great in September. Still a second-year player. I know Andres said sophomore slump. Look, the whole team is slumping, so I don't know. But yeah, the average is down to about 230 now. Still has 11 homers, 11 steals. I heard yesterday that he is the only player in the American League with double figures in homers and steals. He's a threat. He did something right today. He hit that sacrifice fly. He's been playing terrific defense, especially, it was left field. He was so good. And now in center field, it's like he's been there his whole life, and he's been playing really, really well. I'm not about to give up on him or think he should be lower in the order. You saw the respect that he has. The Blue Jays intentionally walked him the other night.
Yeah.
And then Josh Young followed through with a single. So
made him pay.
Other teams know the damage he can do. If you look at his hard hit balls, he's scorched some balls on this homestand right at defenders with nothing to show for it. I think right now he's just been a little unlucky. Not 100% all bad luck, but I think you do throw some bad luck in there when we're talking about him. On Adolis, yeah, again, and this is hard for even me, John, and you, guys who've been around baseball for a long, long time. It's a 162 game season, and I know 2 months feels like forever, but my God, there's still forever and forever plus to go.
Yeah,
and there's still the opportunity for these guys who are struggling to turn their seasons around, and it looks unfathomable when you look at Adolis and you realize that his problems are the same that they've always been. He chases high fastballs and he chases sliders out of the zone. After this is now his fifth MLB season, full MLB season, you got to know what they're doing to you, right? So I think that some of that is he needs to, if anybody needs a talk with Brett Boone, it might be him. Recognize the pitches, recognize what they're trying to do to you. The scouting report is the same that it's always been. If he can manage the self-discipline to stay off of those pitches, to make pitchers throw him strikes, he's going to do a lot better. And so maybe what, there are mechanical changes, Chris Young said, that the Rangers want him to make, but he needs to make some mental changes too. So that's kind of what I think. I don't necessarily think it's a physical thing with him. It's just a game awareness thing.
Yeah. Robert W. asks a question that'll help us transition into this 9-game, 3-city road trip. And he says, do you know who will pitch Wednesday? And we would be remiss if we didn't mention the conversation what we had with the guy who we think will now, and that's Kumar Rocker, Jeff.
Yeah, the way it was laid out to us, Tyler Mahle Tuesday, Kumar Rocker Wednesday, Jack Leiter Thursday, so they only have to manipulate one spot in the rotation. Mahle will go on normal rest. Well, actually, that's not right. I think they are all going to have be on time with rest with the extra day. Anyway, Rocker, who pitched Thursday at Round Rock, the Rangers wanted to give him another day, another rehab start, but it just didn't work out. With the Eovaldi decision, they think Rocker's been good enough. He thinks, and he's very confident. And John, if I'm breaking up, you jump in. But his mechanics are finally in sync with the rest of his body, and it's something he was fighting all spring, and he finally figured it out, or at least he says he did. So we'll see what happens when he does take the mound again Wednesday, because he's going to be facing big league hitters, and by God, they're gonna test him a lot more than AA and AAA hitters. But so he'll be up. Probably will not pitch more than 4 innings, I would think. That's where he last finished with Round Rock. I think they wanted him to repeat that one more time, maybe go 5. So I think that the 4 to 5 inning mark is probably what you can look for Wednesday. But he is going to be the Wednesday starter.
Yeah, and that's an interesting, two interesting notes on that. One, when I saw the numbers that Kamar put up in a rehab start, I thought, well, he always does this against minor leaguers, but let's make sure he can do it against major leaguers. And then we asked him, well, what more would you have to prove with another minor league start? And I asked Boach about that, and he said, just to get him more stretched out. And that makes sense because, right, you don't love sending a guy out there in June that you're pretty much thinking can only go 4 innings. You want him to go 5 or 6 or 7, much more ideally. So, that's sort of where they sit with Kumar Rocker. But I feel like everybody thinks he is healthy, and now it's just a matter of trying to keep the mechanics in sync with the mental and all that stuff. And he said to you, Jeff, he goes, yeah, now I know how long it takes. Look, it can't take this long, Kumar. We need to figure this shit out sooner than June, right? That's what I know you're just in your second year, but we got to figure this out a lot sooner than June.
Yeah, this is his first full year. He was still in the Tommy John rehab protocol to start last season. And the thing is, when I caught up with a couple people with the organization in like spring break time or kind of early March, they're like, he showed up at least 3 weeks behind. And so he kind of asked, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, his everything's just off, and his off-season workout program was designed by the Scott Boras people, and he was talking about how he wanted to get the body into better shape, which you kind of admire, but you got to work on the pitching stuff too. And I think that's what he meant. He now realizes that it's a hard lesson he learned, but it's a lesson that's going to carry forward, serve him well going forward. Whenever he picked up a ball, whenever he started working on his mechanics this last offseason, he needs to start about a month earlier, I would say. You don't have to throw. You do not have to throw a baseball to work on your mechanics. There's towel drills. There's all sorts of things that you can do to make your mechanics feel right. And a guy coming off of Tommy John probably should have known that, but he didn't. He's young. Everything he's done in his career to this point has come easily. He's dominated high school and college. In the minor leagues, he was dominant last year until he got to the Rangers. And really, his first start, he struck out 7 at Seattle, and you're like, all right, well, this guy gets it. But I think that now he really gets it. He can't just roll out of bed and have everything work.
Such a big, imposing figure. I think, maybe there's a tendency for minor league guys to be like, whoa, look at this guy. This guy's scary, right? And major league guys aren't. I mean, they're just like, okay, another good pitcher. We'll hit him too. And there's some mental gymnastics there as well. The trip is Tampa and then to Washington and Minnesota. An interesting first stop. Really, the first 2 are pretty interesting, Jeff, in that they only go to Washington every other year at the most. And this Tampa situation, they haven't experienced. I mean, I don't know if they've ever played at this ballpark. Most of them probably never have, this Yankees spring training facility.
Yeah, I think that guys who have had spring training, but guys, this is a new one. Now they did play in Oakland, so at least they've played in a minor league park this year. It'll be interesting to see how they. It's another new one, and then the Washington series. The Nate Lowe reunion. Patrick Corbin will pitch against his old team. That'll be an interesting story to follow. But I like, I really hate missing the Washington, D.C. trip. I love Washington, D.C. My background in history and my appreciation for the way government works, even if all people don't agree with the way it has been working the last 12 years, between parties and all of that, it's still a great place. And you can go see and appreciate our nation's history, and then catch some baseball. So there you go.
Yep, it'll be an interesting road trip. Minnesota's always fun this time of year, too. So that should be fun when they get up there to Target Field. As we mentioned, longest road trip of the season because they're going to 3 cities. They don't have very many of those in this day and age. Tomorrow's a big day on the show as we have a special guest, Jeff.
Yeah. Tony Barnett. You guys remember the former Rangers reliever who came over from Japan and was really pretty integral piece in the bullpen there for a couple years. He has a book has been written about him. It's called Baseball Guide Jin, which stands for foreigner in Japanese. And so he's going to come on and talk about that. It's a really good book. I've mentioned it a couple times on the show. So we'll look forward to talking to Tony about the book. He's still kind of scouts a little bit for his team in Tokyo, the Yakult Swallows, and he's going to be in town later this month. It's June now, I found out today. Later this month at the National Saber Convention, and then he's also going to make an appearance in the Alumni Alley during a homestand. So it'll be good to catch up with Tony.
Yeah, it sure will. We'll be doing that tomorrow at 1 o'clock. As we have a lot more to talk about regarding things that happened over the course of the weekend as the offense finally maybe found its footing. So that's all coming up tomorrow. We're here at 1 o'clock with our normal edition of the DLLS podcast. Thanks for joining us. We're back tomorrow at 1 with another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.